Hey guys, Fox here. Today, time to talk about what might be the last tank bowl of the 2025 season, the Showboats versus the Brahmas in Week 8. Now, it is possible, depending on how this week goes, that Week 10 ends up being a tank bowl between the Brahmas and the Renegades, but it ain't going to be a tank bowl like this one. This game was an absolutely wild game, and normally I go through the game directly, but this time I kind of want to only talk about, let's say, the bad parts, because that's the best way to understand exactly how this game ended up happening and what went on during it, as it was a totally wild game. Now, before we go into the actual big moments from this game, it's important to note that heading into this game, the Showboats basically were admitting they were throwing in the towel for this season and just trying to find out what quarterbacks they want next year, right? Jim Turner basically announced that they're going to be starting pretty much, at least the assumption is each quarterback is going to get one full start during the last 3 games. This game was Troy Williams. He would go to play the entire game despite, let's just say, not playing that well. So he was in the whole game, and it's assumed that either E.J. Perry or Dresser Wynn's going to start next week. As for the Brahmas, they're riding with Kevin Hogan again. He's been their best quarterback all season under the Peyton Party offense. They just had a really high-scoring game, for them at least, putting up 24 against the defenders. And both these teams, well, they're 1-6. Both their wins were ones that were pretty shocking. San Antonio's over an undefeated DC, and Memphis in an OT win over the Stallions. So, let's go on into the game. The Showboats get the ball first and have a basically nothing drive where they gain a few yards, end up punting the ball away. Then the Brahmas looks like they might be driving until they're on 3rd and 5, where Kevin Hogan drops back and throws an easy interception for the Showboats, who then return it for a pick 6 to get the scoring started for the Boats. Just an insanely easy pass to read for the defense, and it gets Memphis on the board immediately. Memphis would then go for 2 and would have a really awkward passing attempt, which, despite all the pressure, ended up working as Teal was able to throw it for a 2-point conversion to get the lead up to 8-0. On the next drive, San Antonio would be at a 4th and 1 situation and would attempt to go for it, but would end up getting stopped short. Yes, the QB sneak failed, Showboats ball once again. Memphis would then have a decently long drive where they got into field goal range, got stalled, and would be forced to kick a 36-yarder, which was good to get the early 11-0 lead in the second quarter. A couple of punts would be traded by both teams, but on the next drive after the punt, the Brahmas would end up scoring their first touchdown of the day by having a trick play to Steven Silianos, who throws a touchdown pass to get the Brahmas on the board. Best throw of the day would end up being that throw by the tight end, an absolutely incredible play. D. Anderson with the touchdown. The Brahmas would go for 1, but would get stuffed just like they did in the 4th and 1 attempt, meaning that it would still be 11-6 with 3 minutes and 50 seconds left in the half. After a big return in the subsequent kickoff, the Showboats would be in the red zone, and just a couple of plays later, they would hand the ball off and rush it in for a 15-ish yard touchdown. Again, Showboats having a good day on offense at this point, 17-6 lead for the Showboats. But on the 2-point conversion, Troy Williams would massively overthrow a pass. It would be incomplete, still 17-6 with a little over 3 minutes left in the half. A couple of drives go by, and the Showboats with a minute left are driving, but an absolutely diabolical play happens for them. Throw a pass over the middle, and after getting the first down, they end up fumbling the football, giving it to the Brahmas at the 30-yard line, and it ends up being returned all the way to about the 4-yard line. Massive mistake by the Showboats and a huge break for San Antonio, who gets the ball with less than 50 seconds left at the red zone. The Brahmas on the next play would end up rushing in the middle, and Corbin would go in for the touchdown to get the lead cut down to only 5 points. The Brahmas would then successfully convert a screen pass on the 2-point conversion to make it a 17-14 game with 45 seconds left in the half. Now, while there was a decent amount of good play in that first half, the second half is where things get really fun. As you'll see in a second, it was a wild half and a wild way to end this tank bowl. Almost immediately entering the third quarter, the Brahmas would be driving and would throw an interception, a just terrible throw that got a bit tipped at the line of scrimmage, returned all the way to about the 16-yard line for Memphis. Memphis, however, would do nothing with the interception and would be forced to kick another field goal, which would be good, making it 20-14 with 12.5 minutes left in the third quarter. The Brahmas would then have an incredible drive where they got all the way to the 5-yard line in Memphis territory, but disaster would strike. Kevin Hogan got pressured, and instead of actually running for the end zone, he would decide to throw the ball, throwing it directly to a Showboats defender who tips it, and it gets intercepted by a D lineman to give the Showboats the ball right at their own end zone. Like clockwork, on the very same drive after the Showboats got the interception, they would fumble the ball after getting a first down, as the receiver ended up continuing to move his legs, but the ball got ripped out of him and was given to the Brahmas as they recovered the fumble. After this, the Brahmas would end up getting a few yards, enough to get into decent field goal range, but were forced to kick. It was good, 45-yarder to make it 20-17. On the next drive, the Showboats end up getting stalled pretty early and are forced to punt. But on the punt, the Brahmas block the kick. An absolutely awful move for the Showboats as the Brahmas get the ball at the 40-yard line in Memphis territory. But on the same drive, San Antonio would end up missing the field goal, which would have tied the game. An absolutely crucial miss for the Brahmas to give the Showboats the continual lead. But the Brahmas would get one last shot at a game-winning field goal after a pretty long drive to end the game. They would end up making the kick, forcing the second OT game in UFL history. And in OT, the Showboats would be the first team to go and attempt a two-point conversion and would, in fact, strike first, as T-Will got the snap, threw it over the middle for a conversion to give them the lead in the overtime shootout. Now, to not go over every single play in overtime, we go to the very last one. As the Showboats would convert their second attempt, the Brahmas would miss their first, convert their second, and the Showboats would miss their third. Now it's do or die for the Brahmas to make this one to force sudden death. But they don't. Kevin Hogan gets pressured almost immediately, tries to roll around. A flag gets thrown that's on the offense. He throws it. It is incomplete. The Showboats win and are undefeated in overtime, 2-0 on the year. Overall, this was a wild game. Kevin Hogan would end up throwing 3 total interceptions during this game. Just an awful performance by him, but T-Will really wasn't much better, going 5 of 11 for 36 yards. The amount of plays I could have talked about in this game is even more than I ended up doing. It was a wildly rough watch that was just an insane game. But while it was rough, it was really fun. This is what you want from a tank bowl. 2 teams that just don't play well, but make it a very fun game. This was the most enjoyable Friday Night Football game all year. Yes, the missed kick by Vizcaino ended up being a huge deal. If he makes that kick, there's a very real shot the Brahmas win. Just like there's a real shot that if Kevin Hogan doesn't throw the interception at the goal line, they win. Overall, though, the Brahmas ended up losing this one despite getting over 100 more yards of total offense and overall being the more efficient team in certain statistics like third down. But a big deal is turnover differential. One team only had 2, one of them had 3. That was a huge difference, especially considering one of those turnovers ended up being a pick 6, and in OT, the Showboats remain undefeated. Overall, this has been Zom Fox. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell. These Tankle videos are really tough to make. A lot of editing needs to be done for these ones, so I'd very much appreciate that. Think about becoming a community member for 99 cents a month. 99 cents a month, I should say. And again, I've got multiple videos still coming out. This is going to come out more than likely on Wednesday at 6 p.m. So there's 4 more videos this week coming out, plus the live stream. So be on the lookout for all that. And as always, guys, have a great night.